The president of SYA, and to welcome you all to not just our 50th anniversary weekend, which that's why we're here, but also to what we're calling an SYA all-school meeting. So thanks for being here this morning. We had an absolutely terrific, I hope many of you were with us last night. We had an absolutely terrific welcoming reception last night with delightful music. I hope you were there. From Adam Gettle. Let's another round of applause for Adam. Great, good work. And again, thanks to Natty Bulgari for making all of that happen. In a few moments, we're going to do something we haven't done before. We're going to have a Global Thinkers Distinguished Lecture Series. But it's not going to be a lecture. It's not going to be a whole bunch of talking heads. So we want you to be here for that, and I think it'll be most engaging. What I'd like to do, if I may, just indulge just for a few minutes, to try and set the stage, set the context for this 50th anniversary celebration. Let's just start with there we go. Who's in the room? And I'm not going to read to you. You all can, smart SYA grads, you all can do this quite easily. But there are really 350, maybe 400 people. When we started dreaming about this 3.5, 4 years ago, we thought, wonder how many people will show up. Well, thanks for showing up, all of you, and more who will come tonight, traveling across the world from China and Hawaii, different states, different countries. It's important to know that we have representatives from 70 distinct classes. We have about 142 distinct classes, SYA distinct classes, so we have representation from almost half of them. And people are here from each of the 5 decades. SYA, and from students who just came home a few months ago who are wondering why they're in the States and what are they doing with this place, and from those who were part of School Boys Abroad back in '64 and '65. We'll hear more from them. And we also have, well, let's hear for those guys. Yeah, there they are. I won't tell you that story. Okay. We also, if there's an unusually loud and somewhat boisterous group, that's the France class of '79. Where are you? You're here this morning? There they are. Okay. Largest number of attendees from a single class. They're here. We think they're here for their 50th reunion. It's actually we think it's our 50th anniversary celebration. They're here for their 36th reunion. But don't count. We're not counting on that. So thanks to the class of '79 for joining us. I'd like to recognize a few distinct groups of folks as we move forward here. You all know that what's at the heart of any good school, all good schools, right, is faculty and academic leadership. So please, and people don't like to do this, I'm not going to ask you to tell me your life story, but if you're a current or former resident director or a member of their family or a current or former member of the faculty at SYA, please stand and we want to give you a round of applause. Please. As you know, there's absolutely wonderful and rich history and dedication and commitment from those men and women, so we want to say a special thanks. There's also some folks in the room. We couldn't do what we do without the volunteer leadership, members of the Board of Trustees, Philanthropy Council, alumni council folks, class agents, people who write all those absolutely wonderful letters, chairs of those organizations. If you're a member of that group, if you're a member of any one of these groups you see on the screens, please stand and let's give a round of applause to those good folks. And special thanks, because this is why we're here, special thanks to Natty Bulgari and Margaret Conklin, the co-chairs of the 50th anniversary celebration, and all the members of the honorary committee. Please stand up. That group has been working tirelessly at the 30,000-foot level and down to the details about what time is the coffee coming in this afternoon. So we want to thank all of those good folks for their dedication to SYA. And I said this last night, there's another special group in the room. They're the Young Alumni Celebration hosts. They have little yellow name tags. They're the ones who know what's going on today and a few years back. So if you're a part of that group, stand up, and we want to see you because we want to talk to you. We've been very blessed to have generous support from a number of different sponsors for this event. We want to particularly thank the good folks at the McLean Law Firm, our friends at Carney, Sando and Associates, who have assisted us in recruiting faculty for many, many years, and the accountants at Tyler, Sims, and Sauvaillard. So thanks to those folks, good sponsors for us. And very, very special thanks to Cambridge Travel, the diamond sponsors for SYA. Cambridge Travel has been working with us for over 21 years, getting our students back and forth across oceans, across times, trying to deal with the airline industry. Who has had good times with that? Anybody? No? Okay. Those of us who travel, you just sort of wonder. Okay, but Janet, where's Janet? Janet, are you here?
Helen is here.
Helen, stand up. We want to say thanks to Cambridge Travel for all their good work. These are the people who, when things go well, we say, oh yeah, thanks a lot. And when things go bad, we say, please help. And they do, and they bail us out. And they'll have a booth tonight at in the Kennedy Center, so please stop by. They're good people to talk to and folks you want to get to know. And of course, no SYA party would be complete without generous amounts of good wine. We had some last night, we'll have more tonight. So thanks to the folks who have generously donated good wine to us. So I like to say more is always better. In the case of wine, that's always the case. Yeah, so we'll have some good wine tonight, as always. Good schools, in addition to being grounded in faculty, quality faculty, are also grounded in a mission statement. And several years ago, we engaged in a strategic planning process headed then by Board Chair Doug Renfield Miller, and we revised the SYA mission statement and also built a whole series of strategic initiatives, which are Executive Director Eileen Kelly-Aguirre is going to talk to you about today. But here's just to give you a reminder of what we do and why we do it. And when we make decisions at SYA, easy ones are the hard ones. The best schools, right? People know this. The best schools go back to that mission statement and say, how does this initiative, how does this decision support the mission statement? So I just wanted to give you that good context. As you know, we were started in 1964, right? Schoolboys Abroad at Andover, with 11 students and 3 teachers. Clark and Paul Yvonne headed out there on the MS Aurelia. Several years later, a year later, actually, Exeter came on board, literally and figuratively, with us on the boat, and then several years later, St. Paul's. Over the course of 50 years, those 3 schools, our founding schools, to whom we're deeply indebted, have sent more than 1,500 students and contributed countless faculty to the SYA effort. So, and we'll give some special recognitions tonight to the academic leaders of those fine schools who will join us tonight. But if you're a faculty member, a student who came from, or a parent who sent a student from Andover, Exeter, or St. Paul's, please stand up. We want to give you the proper recognition. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Over its 50-year history, SYA has been fortunate. We've been most fortunate to attract some of the best and the brightest to our academic leadership positions. We want to thank a number of people today, and there are 3 living executive directors who've served SYA in its earliest years. The longest serving, of course, was Woody Halsey, who needs no introduction to this organization. But let me remind you that Woody served as resident director in France for 6 years before becoming executive director in 1986, a position he held until 2007. I have no idea how you did that, Woody, with all those many tasks, and then became president and held that position to 2011. Think about this, Woody's legacy, among many other things, among caring for students and recruiting faculty. And he also opened China in 1994. Actually, he was there 2 years before that even happened. Opened Italy in 2001. Started summer programs. Our We have summer programs in each of our schools, and those students have just returned from a wonderful summer experience. Woody was ahead of the curve in terms of study abroad and cross-cultural experiences. So SYA has flourished under Woody's watchful eye, and please join me in welcoming Woody Halsey to the podium. Thank you.
I thought this was going to be easy because they told me what to say, but I'm on the wrong page here.
It's not the first time.
It's called being ahead of the curve, but luckily I have printed it out myself, so here we go. Thank you, Jack. I said to my family when I got back from last night, I just made me want to go back to work again. I felt so embraced and affirmed by all of you, and it was just incredibly energizing and moving to feel the dynamism of this organization that continues on the path that I had hoped to launch it on, and Jack and all those who have succeeded me have certainly done that. But Susan has asked me to be brief and to stick to the point. So those of you who know me well know that I don't necessarily always do that. So I just want to, my task is to just do a quick recap of the early history of SYA. And even if I had not been told what to say, I would have said something similar, which is that we all build on the accomplishments of those who went before us. And when I think back on how imaginative and adventuresome and optimistic were the people like Clark Vaughn and many others who are no longer with us, Dan Olivier and his wife, Clark Vaughn and his wife, his widow, who is with us today, and also Chris, I see. But they went to the heads of those three schools that Jack just noted, and I won't come up with all the names, but John Kemper was one, and they said, well, that's kind of an out there idea, but yeah, let's do it, let's try it. And so all of the school heads who supported SYA in the early years need to be thanked and honored as well as the teachers who had the guts to go and live abroad for a year and teach abroad for a year. And I was incredibly lucky to come along at a time when some of those heads were still around. The board, as it grew, maintained that sense of adventure and willingness to try new things because they saw that the importance of the mission. And the wording has changed a little bit, but the mission has always been essentially the same. And those school leaders and then alumni and then trustees were willing to give their support and time and treasure and inspiration. And I was so lucky to have a group who were supporting me to let me try out all my wacky ideas, some of which have succeeded brilliantly and some of which are no longer functioning, but so I need to thank them. But anyway, back to the past. So Clark had the idea of SYA. He was the founder. His widow, Polly Von Fleischer, as I mentioned, is with us today. And also Chris, who was in the class of '69. Polly played an active role as all resident director spouses have done. In the early days, those spouses tended to be women. Now, more and more, they are going to be men, which is great. I think that's an excellent development. But one of the things that I always remember about Polly is that she designed our logo, which was a brilliant summary of what SYA is all about. It's a circle that represents the globe. It's interwoven links that represent, I think this is true, in the original vision it was going to be France, Spain, Russia, and Andover. Everybody knows that Phillips Academy is at the center of the world, but it lends itself to different interpretations. And I am proud to be wearing today one of the original versions of that in sterling silver, which I just learned last night from Polly, was actually crafted by Polly's mother-in-law. Do I have that right? And I treasure it, and when I pass to my great reward, I will leave it to whoever is running SYA at the time. But so Clark and Polly started things, and then and they guided SYA through those first challenging and I'm guessing somewhat improvised years in Barcelona. And in 1967, SYA France was started, and Creighton Bedford, and I think I'm supposed to advance, I'm sorry, I was supposed to have had Clark and Polly up on the screen. I'm sorry, I didn't do that. So Creighton Bedford, who I guess is going to be here this evening, was SYA's first math teacher. And he, like his brave students, transplanted his family to Rennes for a year of challenges and unknown. Little did anyone realize that that was the fall before the spring of 1968, when all hell broke loose in France. And it was partly because he helped guide SYA through those turbulent times that he was in line to become the executive director when he returned to Andover. And he was, I think I have this correct, he was responsible for seeking SYA's first nonprofit status and putting SYA on an independent basis. He was also responsible for introducing Hal McCann to SYA, and I think we have this correct. Hal will correct us if we're wrong, that it was over a wrestling meet at some point, and he persuaded Hal to apply for the job as executive director in 1976, and where Hal served for 10 years, and in the course of those 10 years, I was, again, incredibly fortunate to be selected by Hal to be resident director in France. And I said this once before publicly, but I'll say it again. Thank you, Hal, for hiring me. It changed my life, and I'm forever grateful that you saw in me at the time, 33 years old, very inexperienced, the possibility of maybe successfully running SYA Rennes. So I was lucky enough to go to Rennes, thanks to Hal, in 1980. And so Hal was my boss. And then in 1986, the board asked me to come back to be executive director. And Hal was sort of chomping at the bit to do the fun stuff, which was to go to France, to go to Europe, to go to Spain. So Hal became resident director in Barcelona, and we switched roles, and I became his boss. And I think we managed that gracefully. And then when I was lucky enough again to have a sabbatical in 1989-90, I went to Spain for a while and then to France, and Hal filled in for me as executive director again. So there was a lot of mutual help there. As I wrote in my little thing that Susan asked us all to summarize briefly some of our memories about SYA, the thing I remember about Hal's instructions to me when I took over from him in 1986 was the three most important things in this job are promotion, promotion, and promotion. Because it was then, as it is now, all about encouraging students, persuading students, reassuring parents that going away for an entire year is a good idea, and it's a healthy, life-changing thing to do. And as our excellent current, I guess I shouldn't say our, I don't work for SYA anymore, but as the excellent SYA mission staff knows, it's a 24/7 challenge to get around the country and bring in the students that make SYA live. So in Hal's day and in my day, we did that ourselves, and we lugged around our carousel projector with our long extension cord, and we went into classrooms and we hoped that the projector would work. And Hal started, he had and I still have this somewhere in my archives, a little cassette, you know, that went along with the slides, and then gradually we moved into making movies. And then in the early days, we would send out the movies with an $8 deposit, and if the people sent the movie back, we'd give them their $8 back. As we were always trying to save money. Now, of course, everything is on the web, and so it's a very different world. But it was Hal who started that. I continued in the path that he had set, and then my successors have done an even better job of it. So it was those pioneers who built the foundation that I was fortunate enough to inherit, and I hope that I adequately passed on to my successors. And I was very lucky to be at the helm at a time of optimism and growth. And my hope is that that same sense of adventure continues to inform the decisions of the current SYA board and the current SYA administration, and that after a period of sort of settling in after the 2008 global economic downturn, it'll be time to expand again. So who knows? Cuba, perhaps. So now let me, on that optimistic note, let me turn the podium back to Jack. Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Woody. And the use of the first person plural is absolutely appropriate. It's our, no doubt about that. I also want to let you know that I have a good friend who describes SYA students, alums, as the intrepid souls of American high schools. And just to demonstrate to you that the intrepid soul of Woody Halsey is alive and well, I want you to know that in about 3 weeks, Woody will be a member of the faculty of the Taipei American School teaching English next year. So, bravo, bravo. A few more slides. We don't want to death by PowerPoint here, but we do want to remind you of some important initiatives. You know that in 2006, we're landowners in Europe. In 2006, SYA made its first real estate purchase thanks to a fundraising campaign that brought in over $1.3 million from parents and friends and alumni for Villa Alvarez on your left there, a permanent home in Rennes. And then a few years later, fundraising effort made it possible of $2.5 million to purchase and renovate SYA's permanent home, Casa Foster. And that opened in 2011. And I would be remiss, genuinely not doing the right thing here, if we didn't stop here and acknowledge the important, generous, and unconditional support of a member of the SYA community. I'm going to ask Malu and Carlos Alvarez, who are critically important to us in those fundraising efforts for both those places, to please stand. We could not have achieved those two campaigns without the Alvarez family. And whenever I need to get some new ideas and get prodded, I head down to have lunch with Carlos and get some good energy and some good ideas. So thank you to the Alvarez family for all you have done for us. In 2011, SYA also received the largest gift we have ever received from the Bulgari Family Foundation, Nadia and her family, which served as a permanent gift to establish the Halsey Fund, an endowment for a scholarship named in honor of Woody, presented each year to high school students who have demonstrated an exceptional academic ability, substantial interest in global study, the understanding of cultural differences, and developing language proficiency. And so we are now in our 4th year of awarding the Halsey Scholarship. You see the recipients, and the first 3, the colleges and universities they're headed to. And I can tell you, having personally interviewed not just the recipients of the award, but the applicants, the many applicants. We got 90 applications for this wonderfully endowed scholarship, thanks to the Bulgari family. These people, these young students there's hope for the future. Those of us of a certain generation who may feel that we messed it up, this is the generation, particularly folks like this, students like this, who will make it better. So many thanks to the Bulgari family. Last year was a really exciting year. We've been on a good run lately. 2014, we earned accreditation from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, which means based on a review by external experts, we have met the standards, exceeded the standards of what a good quality school should do. In 2014, we celebrated 20 years in China, which was a real treat. We thought the Board of Trustees meeting in China was the highlight of the year. No, indeed, it was Michelle Obama's visit to SYA China, to middle school number 2, that was the highlight of the year. She got to meet the students. The First Lady of China accompanied her. It really was an absolutely marvelous opportunity for Hilda Becker and her faculty. We applied for a very selective, very competitive pool. We applied for and were chosen as an official signature partner of the 100,000 Strong Foundation. I urge you to go online and check that out. Its core mission is Washington-based, is to advance the study of China history, China language. When we heard about this, Susan McLean said, hey, haven't we been doing that for 20 years? We should be involved. And when we showed up with our application, they said, wow, you guys have been doing this for 20 years. We'd like you to partner with us. So absolutely important. So really good year, 2014. And here's the best news of all, and this is a slide to say thank you to you, our faculty, students, alums, parents, friends of SYA. We've reached a new level, $1.4 million in the annual fund, thanks to the good work of the development staff. You responded to the development staff's very good work, met the $250,000 match, and this year we had a new challenge grant for some of the younger classes, the classes from 2003 to 2014. We had called it a country match, and it's good to know that the classes from China met and exceeded their goals more than any of the other classes from 2003 to 2014, so that was real important. So lots of good things, indeed. So there's the past, but the future is what we're all about, right? And it's my pleasure now to introduce you to the woman who's leading SYA into the future, rooted in scholarship, rooted in practice. Eileen Kelly-Aguirre is finishing her first year as our executive director, spent 20-plus years at the Gunnery in Connecticut, a true boarding school faculty member, was associate head of school, dean of the faculty, chair of the language department, house parent, but a woman who's rooted in global understanding and cross-cultural competencies. We are so fortunate to have Eileen here, and she's going to talk about what's ahead for the future. Eileen?
Morning, everyone. Really great to be here. I want to make sure I advance to whatever page the person who follows me is going to be reading from. Yeah, thank you. Great. By the way, while we're doing this, feel free for the next 20 seconds to stand up, to stretch, to turn, to whatever. You've actually been sitting over 35 minutes, which we actually know now is too long to sit in any one place in a classroom, so feel free to do that. Truly, I'm not kidding. You probably want to stand up and stretch a little bit, because we're going to still talk at you.
Great.
Yeah, we're good?
Yeah, we're on you.
Yeah,
Do you
I have
yours.
I know, you need to go ahead.
So then I'll go there. Perfect. And then you go back
Perfect.
to this when Andrew
Okay.
comes up.
You're going to be glad you did. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. As Jack mentioned, I think he mentioned 123 students recently returned from our highly effective and successful summer programs. They're 5-week mini SYA. My handlers, thank you. SYA programs in our four countries. And this fall, 240 recently minted SYAers will embark on their own year. SYA continues to enjoy strong and steady enrollment, and we're so fortunate to attract talented and bright students across all of our schools. You know, and speaking of attractors and attracting, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the essential work that the SYA coordinators do in our 45 member schools. Without them, admissions could never do the already impossible task that they do every year. And also acknowledge sort of the nameless and faceless language teachers out there and advisors out there at hundreds of schools all over the United States that are planting the seed of the idea of SYA in the minds of their students as they work with them. They get no remuneration, they get no credit, they get no acknowledgement, but they're out there. And I just thought it was important to mention that. SYA is committed to preserving the heart of the program, but also being nimble and visionary enough to adapt to the evolving needs of our students, our partner schools, and the world at large. Some of what we are doing at SYA is new and might surprise you pleasantly, we hope. I'll tell you more about this in a few moments, but while remaining open to innovation and evolving best practice in study abroad and in education in general, we are heartened to see in our year-end surveys that the foundational pillars of our success remain structurally sound. Greatness in schools begins and ends with people and the relationships between them. And at the heart of all great schools stand the educators. This weekend, there are over 50, as you know, SYA educators amongst us. Some teach, others lead, others administer, all of them minister, often. If you notice an RD or a faculty member name tag in the crowd this weekend, I would suggest you just maybe stop and introduce yourself, perhaps even thank them. They are really SYA's deepest and most powerful resource. Oriol, Santo, Jean-Philippe, and Jean Tong are here with us today, and I'm going to embarrass them if they're here, if they just stand up. They represent today's SYA faculty. Jean Tong, Santo, Jean-Philippe, Oriol. So they are the SYA of today, but many other generations are represented here as well. And unique to SYA, as you all know, are the foreign faculty, which are the teachers that are brought over from the United States to leave their own worlds and become SYAers in their own way as adults, and to keep our math and our English skills alive and well. So there's many of those as well, this foreign faculty, the SYA foreign faculty. And I love it. When I went to China, I'm sitting with Hilda, and we're talking about the faculty. She said, yes, well, in the foreign faculty, you do this, this, and the other. I was like, oh my gosh, she's talking about the North Americans. It took me a second to figure that out. But they're essential to what we are and what we do. And in the center of any happy life, as you all know, you will find the love and support of family for their young. At SYA, that means first and foremost the family that lets these people, these young people, go in the first place and watches out for them from afar. But it also means the host family that embraces the child on the other end, that stays by his side through this experience, that emboldens and empowers and sensitizes in ways few educational experiences can. I am convinced that SYA facilitates a host family experience that is without equal in education abroad in terms of its longevity, its attention to detail, and its student and family happiness rate, which is very, very high. It's not perfect, but it's very high. We aim for 100% every year. The humanities-centered curriculum of SYA has made room for both the social and the environmental sciences to great effect and uptake by the students. In Spain, students are from day one studying science in the classroom, conducting fieldwork in Spanish, or at least initially in pantomime or whatever they can muster in the first few weeks. That seems like Spanish. And Beijing and the rural areas to which we travel during the year become a lab as well. The SYA curriculum preserves the deep dive of cultural understanding and knowledge of the national, regional, and local, with the broader comparative span of the global. Just this summer, the SYA Italy students and those of SYA China were holding Skype sessions to share their own understanding of how immigration patterns and trends impact the people in their respective cities, regions, and countries. These young people do not turn to the adults to lead these dialogues. They flow freely from their substantive and rooted engagement with the topic and with the people, the real people whose lives are impacted by these global flows. I mentioned before that some of what we do at SYA may not be familiar to you if you are not a recent graduate. One example is our focus on the development of what is often called intercultural competence, but what we refer to as cultural intelligence. As is the case in all professional endeavors, education abroad is both an approach to education and an area of scholarly research and refinement based on best practice. SYA is in the vanguard in terms of both its original research on cultural intelligence development of students, as well as the intentional integration of best practice into its program. And we are out ahead, not only in the world of education abroad for high schoolers, where there are no other, to my knowledge, US programs with a design and duration like our own, but at the university level as well, where study abroad has been happening for more than 50 years. A cultural mentoring pilot program recently completed in France produced results, growth results that are encouraging to us. And we just this past week with the RDs finished our planning for the next steps in our work on cultural intelligence with our students. Collaboration between SYA and local schools and between SYA schools themselves and collaborative projects have become very important, and they're typically centered on global issues. Those of us who work in this field and those of you who have lived study abroad are keenly aware that one of the greatest obstacles to deep cultural immersion and personal transformation is the bubble that young North Americans create for themselves to ease the strain of cultural adaptation and linguistic mastery, and to avoid the discomfort of dislocation. And we know it's uncomfortable. It makes sense that you'd want to escape. At SYA, we are increasingly attuned to this phenomenon and are making efforts to help them become aware of this tendency and to work through it sooner and with adult support. We're facilitating connection between SYA students and local youth. The 5 days in experience in Spain that sends students all over Spain to live a week of Spanish schooling has inspired similar experiences in other SYA schools. Italy does the same with Inviterbo now. The relationships we're establishing with local high schools and universities bear sweeter fruit each year, and we are connecting SYAers from each of our 4 schools to each other around topics of global import, traveling to Lampedusa and to Calais, where to witness firsthand the impact on fellow humans of migration and immigration, and then presenting side by side at the Model UN in Geneva or the Global Issues Network Conference in Milan. Growing numbers of students are spending time each week with adopted French grandparents. I love to hear that this was something that you were doing 35 years ago, or 40 years ago. It's just grown since then. While students in Italy and Spain work in elementary schools. In China this coming year, we hope to pair our students with university language buddies. And in Rennes, the local university invited our Model UN delegation this past year to present at their conference, all in French, bien sûr. The concept of a launching point for life, for SYA and the idea of lifelong learners. I just want to speak for a moment in closing and handing it off about learning. I've been in education my whole career, initially with Middlebury and study abroad and Vassar Wesley, and then in the independent school world. And one of the problems with learning is that it stays too often in the head. And it's just not enough. It's great, you have to be a learner, you have to be a knower, you want to be a doer, you want to be a seer. But ultimately, it has to hit who you are and who you will become. To my mind, education's new frontier, and SYA is actually still there, is education that touches the heart, that touches the emotions, that gets at who it is that you want to be going forward in your life. I blog once in a while when I'm not working, And I had to come up with a title, and I was trying to think of something that sort of pulled together all of that I do and all that I believe and how it connects particularly to my most recent work with SYA. And I landed on the concept of we. And so I gave my blog the name A Broader We. And what SYA does better than any organization I've been in contact is to help young people define their we, understand that initially we define it very narrowly, in a very narrow way, and over time to broaden that notion willingly, day by day, experience by experience, of what we are and how we're going to care for each other. So for me, it's a great, great honor to support the SYA project because I consider it not only noble, but urgent and essential. So I thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to pass this now along to the next phase. Thank you. I'm turning it over to Gabby and Mimi, who will pick it up from here. Thanks again. Good morning. Are they working? Again? Sure.
So we're just having a quick schedule change. We're actually going to run through the speaker series now and then do a coffee break. But how I really wanted to start was like this. Hola a todos. Yo hablo un poquito de español. Je parle un peu de français aussi. Je peux dire ni hao ma. Però io parlo italiano molto bene perché sono andata in Italia per un anno con SYA, con Peter e Happy Esti e Santo San Martino, che sono qui oggi. E grazie a SYA parlo italiano così bene. Capisci? So my name is Gabriella D'Addario. I'm a proud alum of SYA Italy, class of 05. And I also had the pleasure of working in the SYA admissions office for 2 years after I graduated from school. And what you just heard were my opening lines for the many, many presentations that I gave about SYA over the course of those 2 years. And I'm glad to see that they still work, so. I'm currently on the Philanthropy Council for SYA, and I live in Los Angeles, where I work in business development at BuzzFeed. And I'm tremendously pleased and honored to be here with all of you today, celebrating SYA's 50th anniversary, and very pleased to be here with my co-host, Mimi.
Hello, everyone. I don't have a multitude of languages to give you yet this morning, maybe later. I am also very pleased to be here. I am France, class of 94, and I was absolutely honored and excited to see our resident director, Monsieur et Madame Oiseau. I don't know where you are right now, but I know you're out there. Hi. I am currently Vice President of Communications at Neiman Marcus, and I've been in PR for luxury and mostly French companies for just about 16 years. And I really give credit for my career to SYA, so thank you for everything that it's given me. On to our program. We are pleased to introduce the Global Thinkers today. Wait
a second, Mimi, did you notice that we actually weren't asked to be global thinkers?
I guess we're global talkers today, right? So earlier this morning, we were transported back to our SYA classrooms and reminded of the challenges and joys of studying abroad while just a teenager. The year was inspirational for a journey that we've all taken, all following many paths. Today, we have the opportunity to learn more about the thinking and, frankly, extraordinary global doing of some of our very, very impressive fellow alumni. Our first speaker today is Doug Castle, a member of SYA's very first class, Spain 1965. Woo! Yeah. Yay! Doug is currently a professor of law and a Notre Dame Presidential Fellow at the University of Notre Dame in Chicago. He's a scholar and practitioner of international human rights, international criminal, and international humanitarian law. Please join me in a warm SYA welcome to Doug. Come join us on the stage for a presentation From pioneer schoolboy to globe-trotting human rights lawyer.
They don't even hush in libraries anymore in North American libraries. I don't know if you knew that. School libraries, nobody gets hushed. Great. We're going to present a few awards and then return to our distinguished speaker series. So it's my pleasure to bestow SYA's inaugural Honorary Alumnus Award to two very important members of the SYA community. The SYA Honorary Alumnus Award was established this year to honor individuals who have made significant contributions towards SYA's welfare, reputation, or prestige, or towards its students, faculty, or alumni. And we are pleased to announce the awarding of honorary alumni status to two long-term faculty members, Angel Villalta and Marie-Cécile Ertin. Andrew Andrew Liu, a member of Spain, 1983, will join me on stage to tell us about Angel Villalta.
Hi, it's great to be here. I got to say, I'm thrilled and honored to be able to participate here. For those of you who have connections to SYA that wasn't in Spain, the name Angel Villalta may not be entirely familiar. So I don't have his full bio, but apparently, you know, Angel was one of the first foreign hires for SYA back in 1964. He was the heart and soul of SYA Spain through 1998 when the school moved to Zaragoza. Basically, Angel was the life force that every student was exposed to that walked through those doors just off the Plaza Catalunya for more than 3 decades. Incredible human being. So it's not surprising that about a half a year ago, when most of us were making plans to attend the 50th year celebration here, you know, my fellow alum, Tom Dye, also from Spain, 83, we started to wonder if there was a possibility. We didn't know about this award then, but we were starting to wonder ourselves if there was a possibility to bring Angel out to Boston for these events. And so independently of this award, we, you know, made contact with Angel and we offered to fly him out. And we got word that, you know, because of his current health conditions, he didn't feel that was a real viable option. So Tom and I basically, you know, just felt there had to be a way to get him here. And so at the beginning of June, we both flew to Barcelona on sort of a pilgrimage, and we ended up at the doorstep of Angel's apartment in Barcelona, and we filmed him for 2 days, and during the course of a dinner. So our conversations were amazing. He was never anything less than lucid, inspiring, wise. You know, he reminded us of all of the memories and just the thoughts that we had carried with us for the better part of 30 years. They were all true and even more so. You know, we realized again and again that, you know, great teachers, they don't just teach you the facts. They hopefully lead you to a place where you're a more compassionate, thoughtful young adult, and clearly Angel delivered on all of that and more. So we have a short film clip to share with you guys today that, you know, has bits and pieces from those conversations. And we were also able to, on behalf of SYA, present Angel his Honorary Alumnus Award. So thank you very much.
Art is something ineffable, ineffable. Art is something that, when a piece is really art, it has something else that that is very, how do you say, is very extraordinary. It's not those those lines, because it's all together. And you say, well, where is he going now? Oh. How do you explain a Picasso's painting? You cannot explain. You have to be there. You have to be there. To be a teacher, these boys and girls at this age are difficult, and every year I had some difficulties. The most difficult for a teacher, for me, was, for instance, to be in one of our trips in the Bosch and to see a beautiful Castilian landscape, which are so simple. To see that and do something so the student by me sees that too. That is very hard. You have to be very, very good teacher to be able to feel that student has an emotion, a special emotion. When sometimes I could do it, sometimes I felt very well. I think that when you really are learning a language which is like learning the soul of another country, the language you learn with sacrifice, this is your language. To know another language, it makes you more sure of yourself. You can do something that most people cannot. I'm proud that really I taught the students to be honest and to be on the right side, let's say. And I have to say that this school has let me do whatever I wanted. That is something that I appreciate very much, and that is very American. Now it's very clear that this was wonderful. That to have been in this school is one of the best things of my life. In recognition of his significant contributions towards SYA's welfare, reputation, and prestige, and towards its students, faculty, and alumni. Angel Vilalte, SYA Spain faculty, 1964-1998. Has been granted the Honorary Alumnus Award by School Year Abroad on this 25th day, July 2015. Very nice, very formal, and I like it. Okay, thank you very much.
I've got to go meet Angel Vilalta. I got to make a trip. Doug Renfield Miller and John Gable, classmates from 1971, as well as Marie-Cécile Ertin. Please join me on the stage to talk about Marie-Cécile.
Well, John Gabler and I had the honor of being school boys abroad back in 1971 and had the joy of being on SYA when Monsieur and Madame Ertin were on the faculty there. Now, I get the easier part of this presentation, so I'm going to do the English, and John, who was a much better student than I was, we'll do the French bit. But Marie-Cécile Ertin taught hundreds, if not thousands, of SYA students, and for those of you who can show up at the JFK Library at 5:15 today for a special treat, you will have the privilege of attending a class given by Madame Ertin and join that great group of people who have had the privilege of studying with her. Madame Ertin taught at SYA from 1967 until her retirement in 2009. Her husband, who is my history teacher, now deceased, taught there from 1968 to 2009. He was also the first socialist I think I ever met. And we were talking about this last night, and probably, but it was amazing when we were just talking last night how the memories come back and we all have such vivid recollections of the individual teachers, and that's what really stands out and distinguishes SYA. So both Madame and Monsieur Ertin were very involved in the Rennes community, both politically and culturally. So we're delighted to be here today and delighted that she could join us for this event and come over. And with that, I'll hand it off to John for the French part.
Thank you, Doug. Madame, en 71, dans votre cours, nous avons abordé avec vous l'étude de l'étranger. Lors d'un passage à Rennes, quand on fêtait les 25 ans de School Year Abroad à Rennes, vous m'aviez par la suite indiqué que l'on ne discutait plus beaucoup son œuvre. J'étais content ce matin d'apprendre, M. Brochou, qu'on se met à relire peut-être un peu de Camus. Néanmoins, pour moi, l'œuvre de Camus demeure fondamentale. Dans mon édition de Dernier homme se trouve une copie de la lettre que Camus avait écrite après avoir reçu le prix Nobel. Celle-ci était destinée au professeur qui avait su reconnaître ses dons et l'avait encouragé de les poursuivre. Il est bien juste de reconnaître les encouragements de nos professeurs. C'est dans ce but, agissant en qualité de porte-parole de tous les membres de School Year Abroad, en hommage aux contributions que vous, et nous incluons bien sûr dans ce vous, votre mari, que vous avez apporté à School Year Abroad France et à nous, vos élèves. C'est avec grand plaisir que nous vous invitons à joindre nos rangs en vous décernant le titre de camarade de classe honoraire.
Oh, je suis très honorée.
Nous sommes finalement une classe mixte.
Oui, c'est avec des garçons.
Et avec cette invitation, je vous présente un diplôme et en souvenir un petit cadeau. De nous tous, merci à vous, mesdames.
Merci. Je voudrais pouvoir parler anglais, mais je ne peux pas. Italien un peu, mais je préfère parler français. Je voudrais dire que je suis honorée, mais que je ne mérite pas ces hommages, parce que ce que mes élèves pendant 24 ans, je ne sais plus compter, m'ont apporté est plus important que ce que je leur ai apporté. Ils m'ont comblée, j'ai été heureuse de faire ce métier et merci à eux.
Merci. Madame, votre diplôme est un petit foyer.
Merci.
So in all good schools, rephrase that, Jack. In all great schools, we honor faculty because they are at the heart of a great school. But here at SYA, we also want to inaugurate this year what we're calling the School Year Abroad Distinguished Alumni Award. Award recipients are recognized for making a lasting impact on SYA and on society through outstanding accomplishments in their careers and communities. So now we honor students. The awards committee is pleased to announce, no surprise here, but it was with great pride, that the 11 members of SYA's inaugural class of Spain 1965 have been selected as the first ever recipients of the SYA Distinguished Alumni Award. They're here with us this morning, a number of members of the class, and I'm going to ask them in a few minutes to come up so that we can present to them this award. As I said to you earlier, I've got a good friend who calls SYA students the intrepid souls of American secondary education. And here before us, and not all their colleagues are here, but here's a group of people who had the bravery, who had the courage to head off and to create what we now call SYA. They headed off on the MS Aurelia with what I'm told were a bunch of young women from Wellesley, right? Is that true? I've heard stories about that. Not so sure. I've also heard stories about how some of you guys arrived in Europe and slowly, but not altogether, made your way to Barcelona, that some came several weeks later to Barcelona. A few, missed the train. Yeah, okay. Well, you know how that is now. And today our lawyers would just get nervous if anyone missed the train. But anyways, we know that SYA serves as the launching point for life Since the schoolboys, I'm going to refer to them as of 1964-65, they have distinguished themselves in many ways. Many of them speak multiple languages, and collectively they've lived in 17 countries since SYA. They've gone on to successful careers in law, human rights, education, construction, architectural design, consulting, financial services, journalism, art, manufacturing, media, publishing, teaching, and more. They've earned PhDs, JDs, MBAs, made a difference because of the work you've done in your own communities. Among this group, there's a Fulbright Scholar and a Jeopardy Hall of Famer. Two of you have earned, there's a story there if you want to hear that too. Two of you have earned, have helped shape SYA by serving on the Board of Trustees. As you've heard before, 9 of the schoolboys met in Zaragoza, Barcelona and Zaragoza this spring to celebrate the 50th reunion. What a rich experience for our students who are there this year to meet the schoolboys abroad. And you heard earlier that the class, they're always setting high standards for us, has now reached the 100% participation rate for the annual fund for 50th reunion classes. So thank you, gentlemen, for all that you have done. Let me read the names of all of the class and those of you who are here with us this morning. So Jeff Eastman, Stephen Foster, Steve Foster, Mark Pestronk, William Sykes, Bruce Yarrick, those who are not here this morning, David Burrs, Doug Cassell, who's just left, Paul Desendorf, David Golden, Scott Landa, and Michael Sheehan. Please, those of you who are here, come up to the stage to receive your award, please. Mark, there we go. Right. William, Bill, thanks. Sure. Steve. Everybody got one? Oh, of course I do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is schoolboy.
Thank you, madam.
So glad we did it.
And now, one more comment before we turn it back to, he's not going to appreciate me doing this, but sometimes he gets mad at me anyways. But I want you to know that there's one member of that class, Steve, or we call him Stephen in the office, Stephen Foster, who has been a generous contributor to SYA in so many ways. As he is truly the first, I think, development director of SYA, a fundraiser, carpenter, painter. You could find him in Spain painting walls in the new facility. Always, whenever I meet with Stephen, he comes with a list of ideas he wants me to work on. This is a man who has devoted so much of his life in so many ways to SYA. And please, I want you to join me in thanking Stephen Foster for all he's done for us. And now back to the speakers. Wow. Huh? Wow. As a person who goes to work at SYA every day, I think I speak for my colleagues. We are honored and feel it's a privilege to continue to support the kind of school that created those of you who are alums and we believe continues to create that school. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. I just can't, you know, in the world of NAS schools, National Association of Independent Schools, we talk a lot about the public responsibility of independent schools. And I see independent school faculty and headmasters here in this audience know that schools are doing that. But, you know, SYA has been doing this for 50 years, taking that transformative experience and turning the telescope around and seeing what we can do, understanding the sense of the other to make it better for the world. So bravo, bravo. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to do that. Special thanks to Mimi and Gabby for keeping us moving all morning. Susan McLean and Katie Cousins, thank you for a great program here. Bravo. A few shameless commerce announcements. There is the school store in the back of the room here, so get your SYA tchotchkes as you leave. Please, when you come to the Kennedy Center tonight, we hope you all will come and more. Please make sure you bring your name tags and I'm sorry? Oh, thank you. Gabby says, what time, Jack? 6:30, we will start. And remember the wonderful, gracious, generous folks who have donated that wine. So come and enjoy, please. Oh, only, yes, John. You know, this is like I got it, man. I'm all set. I love it. Anyways, Mr. Gabler reminds me that, well, first of all, there's the shuttle. We'll leave here at 4:45 this afternoon for those of you who want to go to the special French class this afternoon at 5:15. And then the other shuttles from here will leave at 5:15 and 6 o'clock to take you over to the Kennedy if you need other forms of transportation. Lots of people around with little yellow name tags if you've got additional questions. Thanks for your patience, thanks for your support, and thanks for being part of SYA.